I've been having thoughts of selling my salon and giving it all away. You go 25 minutes in a sauna instead of 25 minutes micromanaging someone that you don't like doing. Very stressed, on edge, shortness of breath, high blood pressure, all of the things. You don't need a magic wand and for things to be all better. All you need is...
I wanted to sell my salon 5 times. It's true. And I think it's probably pretty normal for salon owners to feel like this, especially when times are tough. But I'm so glad I didn't sell my salon during those tough times because, you know, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So this question came up just very recently inside of the Salon Mastery Program. And I'm really excited for this episode because today on the Salon Owners Collective Podcast, our boardroom coach, the boardroom coach Joel, is going to discuss and respond to this very question when a Salon Mastery owner wanted to give up, throw in the towel and sell everything and get the heck out. But really quick, before we started, I just wanted to let you know that this episode is brought to you by Shortcuts, your leading salon software provider. Okay, let's get into this episode. Have a hangout with Joel. Here is I Want to Sell My Salon.
Hey team, welcome to the podcast. Coach Joel here. For those of you that don't know me or haven't heard from me, or are just surprised to hear that I'm not Larissa today. I'm one of the coaches at Salon Owners Collective, and I look after our boardroom owners, and those are the owners in our group that are doing over $1 million and have successfully graduated through the 3 phases below being a salon CEO. So we start out, we come in at that operator phase. We then grow and graduate into the manager phase. And then third, we get into the leader phase. And that's something I'm really passionate about, that leader phase and leading our way through our business. And eventually we arrive at salon CEO level. And inside of Salon Owners Collective, we have the boardroom, which is where I spend 90% of my time. Every now and then, though, Larissa lets me come and jump on the podcast. And today, I want to have a conversation with you because we actually got someone reached out and messaged us, and I want to read you her message in the hope that, number one, you might be able to relate to it, and number two, you might be able to identify with this kind of thinking in the future. And then we're going to have a bit of a conversation about how we might deal with her situation. So this is from a salon owner. She says, I have had so much thrown at me the past month. Relationship ending, kids needing my attention, and a new staff member that is taking all my time to micromanage. I have little time for myself, let alone be able to tick things off of my game plan. I just can't seem to get ahead. I've been having thoughts of selling my salon and giving it all away. Wondering if anyone else has felt the same, would love any advice or words of wisdom. So I guess, first of all, my heart goes out to this person, and if she was there, I'd want to give her a hug because absolutely thoughts of selling, really normal. Like, has anyone felt the same? Probably most salon owners that are listening to this. And I know if Larissa was here, she would share this because I've heard her share this a number of times, that in her career, owning a salon, a very large and successful salon as well, she had 5 really, I guess, critical times where she seriously considered selling. Not just like a fleeting thought, but I think this is the time to sell maybe. And in her words, she often says, I'm so glad I didn't. And so let's talk about that, because I would imagine for some of you out there, or at least the person that posed this question, that right now, you're not in a fantastic place. In fact, you might be in a shitty place. like a valley. If we talk about life as a series of valleys and then mountaintops, there's seasons, and sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's good for a long time. And then sometimes it's really shit. And so with that being said, I think, and it doesn't matter what I think, but I think that it's actually quite normal for any business owner, for any business and in any industry to have those thoughts. Like, generally speaking, 50% of businesses fail after 5 years. And I would imagine that for 2 or 3 of those last years, there's been a lot of thoughts of selling. So I don't think it's uncommon or you're, odd or the odd one out, or you're not fitting into the industry because you can't at this point think in a way that's really abundant. I think it's actually really normal. And I think more importantly than it being normal is it becomes so important that we don't judge ourselves for having that thought. We don't judge ourselves for having that thought that I'm thinking about selling. Like, first of all, we don't even know where our thoughts come from. They just come into our head. So let's just acknowledge that. So if we don't know where they come from, let's not judge ourselves for having them, yeah? I think the best thing we can do is, once we have a thought like, I want to sell, I want to give it all away, is we can actually start to take control around what do we do once we have a thought like that. And I'm surrounded by, hundreds of salon owners every day who are working hard to not only manage the emotions of business, but also, what do I do once I'm thinking or feeling a particular way? And you don't need me to tell you this, but getting stuff out of your brain and onto paper can be a really useful thing, because at the very least, you get it out of your brain so that you can show up to your children, so that you can show up to your people, your staff member that needs a lot of your attention at the moment. So what do we do once we have a negative thought, or once we have a thought that's not part of the plan? I think it's really important to channel our focus into what do we do next. Something else that I see happening a lot in our community at Salon Owners Collective is when people are going through hell, is reaching out for support. Like, we work really hard on our community so that people feel they still have to be courageous to ask for help, but when they do, there is a real sense of like people that have your back. And I think whoever this person is, or whoever you are, if you're going through something similar, like, don't be afraid to reach out and ask for help. Like, most people, and I've seen this in 20 years of working all around the world with over 200,000 people, 99% of people want to help, including your staff, including your family. You just got to sometimes reach out and say, hey, look, I need some help. I want to also acknowledge that right now, for this person, maybe her nervous system is quite jacked up. And so, not to get all biological, but we need to acknowledge that when we're experiencing overwhelm or high levels of stress, like, there's something going on in the body that makes us feel really jacked up. And we actually have switched, like, there's two kind of, you'll probably know about this. There's the sympathetic nervous system, which is like rest and digest, calm, everything's okay. And there's the parasympathetic nervous system, which is high alert, very stressed, on edge, shortness of breath, high blood pressure, all of the things. And the body's either there or it's there. It's not kind of like in between. And as leaders that charge ourselves with the responsibility of not only being a great boss, but also being a great mum, for some of us a great wife or partner or auntie, or whatever the case may be, it's very difficult to lead when your parasympathetic nervous system is engaged, or you are jacked up, you are stressed out, overwhelmed, at breaking point. So before you go and try to boil the ocean and change the world, one of the best things that you could probably do is to take care of yourself. like to give yourself permission to find white space in your personal calendar to look after yourself. I think that's really important. And I just sometimes, like, maybe part of our identity is like, I'm a mum, I'm a wife, I'm a boss, and like, that's who I am, Joel. And so making space and time for ourselves is actually very rare, or it feels a little bit off or not in alignment with who we're supposed to be. But actually, it's probably exactly what you need in order to show back up in those areas of life. That being said, like, we've all got boxes we want to tick, like me, Larissa, you, like wherever you are in the world, whatever your situation is, you've got some boxes. And I'm just going to go with, like, I'm a dad, I'm a husband, I'm a boss, I'm a work colleague, I'm a son. And when I tick all of those boxes, how do I feel? I feel fantastic. When I don't tick those boxes, which is what I'm hearing in this question, in this post, like, I don't feel fantastic. In fact, I feel terrible, Joel. I don't feel at my best. And so what's really important to understand is that you might be experiencing what we call an identity crisis, like the things that you've built your identity on. I'm a great boss. I'm a great partner. I'm a great mum. Like, it just doesn't feel like you're ticking those boxes at the moment. Now, I'm going to challenge you on that. Because I actually believe that often we're really hard on ourselves and we try to validate how we're feeling by saying we're not doing well. Now, for this person, I would imagine that if we asked her kids, not that we would, but if we did, how's your mum doing? They'd say she's doing a freaking great job. Like, you're showing up, you're doing your best, like, effort is there, intention is there, you know? I would imagine if we asked, you know, this is kind of hypothetical, but this person's future partner, how much they appreciate her at her natural best, they would say incredible. If we asked her staff members how grateful they are to work for her, they'd probably say, like, so grateful. And so I just want to challenge you on the box ticking and the identity crisis. In fact, maybe right now it's not going good, but it doesn't mean that it's a failure. It doesn't mean that it's not it doesn't mean that you're a failure, and it doesn't mean that it's terrible by any stretch of the imagination. And if you don't believe me, I'd actually challenge you to reach out and ask for some feedback. Ask your team, ask your family for some feedback. Because I bet you, I mean, I have this experience all the time coaching people, is we look internally at ourselves like we're not good enough. And it's just a self-sabotaging technique to validate the feelings, the overwhelm that we're experiencing. So can I challenge you and just say, maybe you're actually doing not so bad. Maybe you're in a valley. Maybe you're in a winter. Maybe things aren't peaking for you at the moment, but it's not that bad. You'll be all right.
Hey, me again. I'm just jumping in here to really quickly say thank you to you for joining me right here on the podcast. Just one quick question. Are you listening to this episode thinking, oh my God, this is why my clients are not coming back and I'm still not quite sure what to do about it? Well, I have some strategies for you. The Salon Mastery Program will help you develop and implement 100K teams, strategies designed to lead your team to enjoy 100K careers and instill the 100K mindset and motivation that your team needs. Systems and processes to master the 100K day so you can build $1 million salon. I want to invite you to join me for a complimentary $1 million strategy call. We'll discuss your business, your role inside of the business. Let me see if I can help you grow your team, the business, and help you reach that $1 million mark. All you need to do is click on the apply now. I've left the link for you in the show notes of this episode. We can book a time. All right, that's enough from me. Let's get back to the episode.
One thing that might be useful to consider is getting some support. And when I say that, like maybe there's someone in the team that can actually offload some of the mental load. Like, I've got the staff member, I need to micromanage her. Interesting choice of language. I need to spend a lot of time with her to bring her up to speed. Like, is there someone in the team that can do a little bit of co-support, a little bit of taking the load off of you? Not the whole thing, but it could be just like a little bit, like 5 minutes of not micromanaging someone every day. That's 25 minutes a week. Just think about the energy shift there. You go 25 minutes in a sauna instead of 25 minutes micromanaging someone that you don't like doing. That's a game changer. That is a massive game changer. So I just want to encourage again, I said this before, to, if you've got some courage that's accessible, like, use it to ask for help, to ask for support from the people in your team that trust and respect you. You already know this as well. I think breathing is really important. Like, you've got to breathe through. Like, if you're in the car right now, just take like an extended through the nose deep breath in. And once you get to the top of your breath, when you breathe out with your lips like you're about to whistle, and do that controlled and slow. If you do that for 10 breaths, you will shift from the parasympathetic, jacked up nervous system into the sympathetic nervous system. Like, I know you know this stuff, and when things aren't going well, you almost don't even want to give yourself permission to feel better, because you somehow feel like you're supposed to be in this emotion. Not true. Not true at all. I think breath work and getting stuff out of your head and onto paper is some of the most powerful processing work for dealing with adversity, for dealing with difficulty. Like, we have to get above it. So often we're in it. We're in the adversity. We're in the difficulty. We're in the identity crisis. We're in the thought. And sometimes we have to get above it. Like, I don't know, I used to live in Christchurch, and there was something called the Port Hills. They're 300 meters above the city, and it takes like an hour to walk up them. You walk up there, and your thinking completely changes when you get up high and out of the weeds, like physically. Like, you have a fresh perspective. And so here's an invitation to everyone out there, is that the next time you're experiencing adversity of any shape or form, is to, like, what can you do to shift your perspective? Like, get down to the river, get into the ocean, get up, elevated. You'll probably have your own way, shape, and form of doing something like that. Like, go for a walk, go for a run, get on a plane. These are the things that help us to think differently. And if we don't do that, we doom ourselves to think exactly the same way that we've been thinking for the last 24 hours. I mean, 95% of our thoughts are the same as yesterday. Let that sink in for a moment. So if for the last year you've been thinking, I want to sell, I'm not good enough as a mum, as a partner, as a boss, it's not working, and all of that, 95% of your thoughts are the same as yesterday until you interrupt them, until you do something different. And cognitive behavioral therapy would suggest that you need to do something different. Don't try to change your thinking. Just do something different. Just get on a plane. Go and spend 3 days somewhere that's inspiring for you, and just be with yourself, journal, and get clear about what your vision is. Do that. We encourage our boardroomers to do that every single year. We call it the $1 Million Weekend. More about that another time. Let me land this plane. Right now, if you're in a similar situation, you don't need a solution. You don't. What you need is action. I want to share with you a quick story. In recent times, like I typically on the scales, I'm like an 83 kilo kind of in good shape. That's kind of like it's my jam right there, 83. And in recent times, I went all the way up to level, that's a positive frame, 91. Big change, big shift. So we went from 83 to 91. Now I just want to tell you how I felt at 91. Not good. Like a failure. At my lowest, worst. Don't like it. I'm a shitty person at 91. And what was really interesting is I actually know I know exactly how to get back to 83. Like I have the system. Like I've been there enough times. I've reached out to enough health people, professionals, to know exactly how to get back. Like it's not unknown to me. Yeah. It's not like a mystery. Like, how do I get back there? Like, I know. And it's really interesting because once I got started on my journey from 91 back to 83, like I'm literally only like, I think I was probably about 80, 89.6. And I was feeling so motivated. Like I was feeling like on top of the world. I was like, this is great. Like I've changed. I'm heading in the right direction. I've got some momentum. I'm taking action. So you don't need a magic wand and for things to be all better. All you need is action in the right direction. You need action that has the ability to create momentum. Really good friend of mine, my best man actually, he was like, Joel, there's often like 3 actions. And if you take all 3 really focused, you generate momentum. And when someone has momentum, they're unstoppable. They're at their very, very best. They express themselves fully in their relationships and they get so much back in those relationships. They express themselves fully in their workplace and they get so much back from expressing themselves fully. Like you in momentum is without a doubt the goal. It's not the 83 kilos. That's not the goal. That's the direction. And we shouldn't judge ourselves for not being at the goal. But what we should do is get inspired about rediscovering the direction we want to head in, about getting into action and creating the possibility for momentum. Something else that really, like I worked with this person. She runs an incredible spa in New Zealand down there in the South Island. And she has said to me a number of times that like when you're in it, when you're under it, when it's not going well, no big decisions. Like don't make any big decisions. And this author, young Pablo, I think I've pronounced his name correctly. He also once said that never trust your decision making when you're overwhelmed. Like there's a certain level of psychology, neuroscience, biology that we need the front of our brain to be operating well in order to make good decisions, right? And at the end of the day, our decision-making faculties are just not as good. Like willpower goes down and we're just not as good. And so when you're not thinking well and you're feeling very emotional or primal about something like your business, it's not a good time to make a big decision. Because let's be really clear, decisions change the trajectory of your life and can easily undo years of hard work. And you might be literally moments or minutes away from a breakthrough and you don't even know it. And I would imagine that many people that are going through a tough time have actually got a business and a system or a staffing or a brand or a reputation or a clientele that's actually really bloody good. It's just like right now, there's some evidence to suggest that it's a tough time. Yeah, it's a really tough time. And so with all of that said, I just want to encourage, like, when things are going really well, that's the time to be strategic. That's the time to be aspirational and to really go, what does that horizon line look like for me in the next 5 years? But when things aren't going well, you just want to get like radically present in the now. Forget the past. Don't worry about the future too much. Just have a general sense of direction that you want to go in. Am I making this work? Am I committed to getting out of this valley? Yeah. And then get into really prioritized, clear action. And if that's really hard for you, like you need a coach, you need someone that at the very least can soundboard back to you what they're hearing when you speak, because chances are you've got 36 things that are urgent. There's a to-do list that has 36 things on it. And that list makes you stagnate even more because it's like, well, where do I start? Everything's big. Help. You need a priority. You need a big rock so that you can take action, so that you can get momentum. The last thing that I want to share is this. If right now, the person that shared this, if this is you, or if you're experiencing something similar, I want to say this. where you are right now is not where you have to stay if you choose to move. Now, it's going to require courage to move. It's going to require focus to grow. And it's going to require a little bit of faith to let time do its thing. Like, we're not in the business of pretending like there's a quick fix. Like, there's no silver bullets. There is, have you got the courage, yes or no, to make the decision to not give in, to not give up, but to give it all you've got? Like, that's a courageous decision. That's number one. Number two is, can you focus for 1 hour or even 2 hours a day to grow? And what I mean by that is to take action. And finally, can you give yourself an amount of time? Can you have faith that in 6 months you can move your business, your KPIs, your brutal facts of business, the scorecard? Can you move those numbers north in a positive direction? And if you can do that, then where you are is most definitely not where you need to stay. You are stronger than you think. And I think today is a great day to demonstrate to yourself that you've actually got this, because deep down, I reckon you know that you do. I'd like to finish with an email that I got yesterday. It was sent to me by my old coach. It was really good, actually. And so it's not from me. And his name's Pete, and he's an absolute legend, and I respect him for his thinking. And this is what his email said, and I want to share it with you as a closing thought. It says this: it's been almost a quarter of a century since I quit my last job. Almost half of my life being self-employed, running businesses and helping others run businesses. I've seen lots of businesses be successful and lots fail. The successful businesses were never successful in a linear fashion. The graph is never a straight line. In every case, there were tough times. Times when sales weren't coming in, times when money was tight. I think the hardest part of business is maintaining faith during those times. If you're in one of those times now, know that it's normal, that you are not alone, that this is the heroic part of the hero's journey. Keep your head up and keep going. With love, Pete.
Thanks, Joel. You're a gun. What an awesome episode. Now, I hope this episode has brought you some clarity on the things that you need to know, what you need to know, when you need to do it, and how to take a deep breath and not give up, because your team and you will get through this. Your salon will get through this, and you will absolutely be a better salon CEO at the other end as you come out the other side. So a big thank you again to Joel for taking over the podcast today. Podcast takeover. Epic to have our boardroom coach here on the podcast. So make sure you send any questions that you want us to answer just by DMing the Salon Owners Collective, or maybe put it in a post in the Profitable and Successful Salon Owners Facebook group if you are in there. And otherwise, if you're not, you're very welcome to come and join. All of the links are in the show notes of this episode. All right, until next week on the podcast, ciao for now.